Oh, that's a good one, Pete. Yes, it is. What? Oh, hello, everybody. It's me, Link Moondog Fazzario. My plant Pete was just telling me a joke, and that's why I was laughing. 'Cause it was a good one. You see, Pete tells me jokes, and I tell Pete stories. And I'm going to tell Pete a story right now. And I'm going to tell you the same story. Here we go, everybody. Get comfy, 'cause here we go. Pete, here we go. Everybody, here we go. A long time ago in a forest, far, far away, there was a cookie man. You see, he was a man made like a cookie, right? He was made out of dough, like that. And anyways, this cookie man, he was running through the forest, and he got his foot stuck right in a bear trap. He was trapped. Now, don't worry too much, everybody. Don't worry too much. The cookie man, he didn't break off his foot. No, he was okay. He was okay, everybody. Pete, he was okay. But everybody, he was trapped, right? He couldn't get out of that trap by himself. So he was a bit worried about that. He was sitting there thinking and worrying. Well, just then along came a fancy wagon, and it was pulled by some fancy horses, and they were all decorated up, and it was a fancy decorated wagon with some decorated horses, and inside of that wagon were some fancy rich people, right? Fancy people. And they saw the cookie man. They saw that he was trapped, so they stopped. They screeched to a halt, right, with their wagon. They got out, and the fancy people, they worked and tried to get the cookie man free from the trap. So that was nice of them, right? And eventually they did. They got the cookie man free from the trap, Pete. But then they left, right? They had a conversation, the cookie man and the fancy people. And the cookie man told them that he was really not a cookie man, but he was a king. And that a witch turned him into a cookie man. And the fancy people, they heard this. They heard this story, and they laughed a little bit, Pete. They laughed, everybody, and they didn't believe the cookie man. They didn't believe that he used to be a king. So they left. That's what they did. They left. And the cookie man, he was a little bit sad that the fancy people left with their fancy wagon and their fancy horses. But also, he was happy because he wasn't in the trap. His foot wasn't in the trap anymore, right? So the cookie man, he picked himself up and he started walking along the road. All of a sudden, a fairy jumped out of a bush right at the side of the road. Right? Scared the cookie man. The fairy, she jumped out of the bush and scared the cookie man a little bit. And then she apologized for scaring him, and she said, oh, she had just come from turning a witch into a rock using her magic. And the cookie man said, well, hang on now. What's your name, fairy? And the fairy said, my name is Gwendolyn, and I just turned a witch into a rock using my magic. And the cookie man said, was it the same witch that turned me from a king into a cookie man? And Gwendolyn, the fairy, she said, yeah, probably it was, because I don't think there's too many other witches in this forest. So it was probably that same witch that I just turned into a rock. Probably the same witch that turned you into a cookie man. And then something occurred to Gwendolyn, Pete. She said, she thought, and then she said, Cookie Man, would you like me to use my magic to turn you back into a king? Right? And the Cookie Man, he said, yes, please, Gwendolyn the Fairy. Please turn me back into a king, because I have responsibilities, and I have people waiting on me. So, Gwendolyn took her magic wand and waved it around, and she turned that Cookie Man right back into a king. Right? Using her magic. And then she left. She went about her business. Right? And the Cookie Man, who was now a king again, he went back to his kingdom and looked after all of his business. Oh, there's my story, Pete. Everybody, I hope you liked that story. Now, before we go, let's all do something together. All right, let's all take 3 big breaths and think of 3 good things. Here we go. All right, everybody. My name is Link Moondog Fazzario, and this is my plant Pete, and we will see you next time. Ow! 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 Ha ha! Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.